Ever since Randy Orton set the Fiend on fire at TLC, we've been watching, waiting and wondering what's next. Yes, this was WWE writing the Fiend off of television, but the next question straight away pops in. How does he return? And that is huge. Hopefully it's this Sunday at the Royal Rumble pay-per-view, but right now all attention is on Alexa Bliss while we try to work out what the hell's going on. Of course, recently we've been seeing the transformation of Bliss into what we are calling Fiendess Alexa Bliss. Makes sense. Now, we've seen a dark side of Alexa before. During her initial joining Bray Wyatt stage, she looked a bit psychotic and a little bit dangerous and a little bit evil. And of course, she attacked WWE superstars with moves once used by Bray Wyatt, the Fiend himself, like Sister Abigail. Notice then, it was never the mandible claw. That's an interesting factor that plays into this theory. Because now, the Alexa Bliss that we see does use the mandible claw. She is the Fiend. We see the transformation in her eyes and her mouth on Raw this week. We heard her say, "Let me in." We know this is the Fiend coming out of Alexa Bliss. But what if there's something more sadistic, even more brilliant at play here? Going all the way back to TLC when Randy Orton set the Fiend on fire, this was when everything started to change and everything started to go a whole different direction, aiming at Randy Orton. Alexa Bliss herself would come down to the ring and douse herself in gasoline in an attempt for Randy Orton to set her ablaze. Now, Randy Orton didn't do it, despite the fact Alexa Bliss actually laid down in the centre of the ring, leaving the matches at Randy Orton's feet. Now, the interesting point here for me is if Alexa Bliss wanted to die, if she wanted to go to wherever the Fiend has gone, she could have lit the match herself. If she was that psychotic, that devastated, that out of control, that she had to go to this kind of length to see the Fiend, then she could have done that, but she didn't. Now, Randy Orton did not set her on fire, and it would take another whole 2 weeks until we saw the next development, when Alexa Bliss would come and basically throw a fireball in the face of Randy Orton, burning his face for the whole world to see. But something didn't work here. Just like with the gasoline that Randy Orton didn't light, Randy Orton did not target Alexa Bliss after she threw the fireball in his face. He had to wear a medical mask and cut an amazing promo telling the world that he didn't blame Alexa Bliss. Instead, he blamed the Fiend. He said it was all part of the Fiend's plan because the Fiend wanted to basically cost him his Royal Rumble victory that he was destined for. So once again, he didn't attack Alexa Bliss. And in Randy Orton's eyes, even today, he still hasn't attacked her. He attacked Alexa Bliss because Randy Orton didn't identify her as Alexa Bliss. He saw the Fiend, the person he blamed for everything going wrong in his life, the burns, etc. Alexa Bliss's whole transformation was mimicking the Fiend. She said, "Let me in." She had those flashes of the Fiend on her face. She had the Alexa's playground that was bright and colourful, reminiscent of the Firefly funhouse. It's not a coincidence that this was the first time we saw that. Her entrance theme song was the Firefly funhouse theme song, much like Funhouse Bray Wyatt, who Randy Orton knows is the Fiend. It makes sense. So when Alexa Bliss started to portray the Fiend, the same week Randy Orton said he didn't blame Alexa Bliss, it makes sense that he identified her to become the Fiend, and of course, therefore, he wanted to target the Fiend, not Alexa. But all of this build says to me one thing. It was all a game. It was all destiny and something that Alexa Bliss had predetermined to happen because it maybe needed to. Her dousing herself in gasoline could have been the first thing where Randy Orton would have set her on fire. She would have sacrificed herself, causing her pain, allowing the Fiend to play. This could be the way the Fiend returns. If Alexa Bliss becomes a victim of Randy Orton, then the Fiend might have some power or something that allows him to return to the WWE to once again continue the feud with Randy. So, of course, Alexa Bliss set out on a mission to cause Randy Orton's life to become hell and basically to take him to hell and make him attack her. You do have to believe, with Randy Orton mentioning the Royal Rumble quite a lot in his promos, talking about blaming the Fiend and saying the Fiend wanted to cost him the Royal Rumble, etc., and the fact that the actual attack on Alexa Bliss happened on the go-home Monday Night Raw before the Royal Rumble pay-per-view this Sunday, all signs have to point to the Fiend's triumphant return this Sunday at the Royal Rumble. I hope so. There is one shred of doubt in me, however. If everything Alexa Bliss has done in recent weeks is to basically lead to Randy Orton attacking her, who's to say that the delusional Randy Orton got it correct when he basically theorised that the Fiend wanted to cost him the Royal Rumble match? He may not be correct in that. The Fiend may not care what Randy Orton does at the Royal Rumble, and therefore it may not be the Royal Rumble that the Fiend does return at. It is possible. Although I want it, I think most of us want it, it may not be the case. This theory kind of does add a lot of theories to the concept of the possession angle we've been looking at, and the whole mind control that Bray Wyatt possibly has had over Alexa Bliss, and this could be the reason for that. Bray Wyatt has told us many times before he sees things coming. The character, the Fiend, and the character Funhouse Bray know what's going to happen before it happens. So therefore, he would have known Randy Orton would have set him on fire. He would have known he needs Alexa Bliss to take an attack by Randy Orton to then bring himself back. That could be why we've seen these mind games from Alexa Bliss and these games being played with Randy Orton. You have to believe something underlying like that is happening. We know in the wacky world of the Bray Wyatt story, everything means something, and something is in your face and significant, and OMG as this definitely means something. I do think it's all a game, and I do think eventually the Fiend will get the final laugh and will finally become the victor of this feud. That's pretty guaranteed, with the help of Alexa Bliss, of course. And I hope Bray does return at the Rumble. It's obviously been over a month since we've seen him on WWE TV. And as a Firefly, I can say for myself, we are definitely missing him. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you are new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, like the video, share the video. And I'll see you next time. Peace!
Let me in.